In the realm of darkness, there was one man who ruled the night, Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker. An enigma wrapped in a riddle shrouded by the darkness of his deeds. A man whose name still sends chills down the spine of many, even after decades. Born in the heart of Texas in the year 1960, Ramirez was the youngest of 5 children in a Mexican-American family. His childhood was far from idyllic, marred by poverty and marinated in violence. His family, especially his father, Julian, was known for their volatile temper. This was the first taste of violence for young Richard, but unfortunately, it wasn't the last. His life took a dark turn when he was introduced to his older cousin, Miguel. A decorated Vietnam War veteran, Miguel was a twisted mentor, sharing gruesome war stories and photos of violence, planting the first seeds of evil in Richard's impressionable mind. One fateful day, Richard witnessed Miguel fatally shoot his wife in a fit of rage. This act of violence, witnessed at such a tender age, left an indelible mark on Richard, blurring the lines between right and wrong, life and death, love and hate. These experiences served as a ghastly foundation, a bedrock for the making of a monster. The transformation was gradual, like the slow creeping of a shadow at dusk. Richard started to show signs of a troubled psyche, dabbling in petty crimes, showing signs of voyeurism, and developing a morbid fascination with Satanism. The seeds planted by his cousin Miguel were now sprouting, growing into a twisted tree of malevolence. As we delve deeper into the darkness, we uncover the chilling transformation of a young boy into a notorious serial killer. We'll unravel the enigma that is Richard Ramirez, exploring the horrifying reign of the Night Stalker, the paradoxical appeal he had on women, and ultimately, the end of his nightmarish reign. Stay tuned as we venture further into the labyrinth of the Night Stalker's life. The year was 1984. Los Angeles was gripped by fear. A shadow lurked in the darkness. The Night Stalker had begun his reign of terror. In the heart of the City of Angels, the devil himself seemed to be at play. Richard Ramirez, later known as the Night Stalker, unleashed a wave of terror that held the city hostage for over a year. His crimes were a chilling cocktail of breaking and entering, theft, sexual assault, and murder, each incident more brutal and audacious than the last. His modus operandi was as unpredictable as his choice of victims, spanning all ages, genders, and racial backgrounds. He struck in the dead of night, often gaining entry through unlocked doors or windows. The victims would awaken to a nightmare, a demonic figure in black looming over them. His savage brutality was shocking, his seeming invincibility bone-chilling. As the months rolled on from 1984 into 1985, his crimes escalated, his audaciousness grew. Los Angeles was on edge. The mere whisper of a footstep, the creak of a door, the rustle of leaves in the wind, everything became a sign of the lurking terror. Sleep became a luxury few could afford, the darkness a cloak of fear. The city was paralyzed. Despite the best efforts of law enforcement, the Night Stalker seemed to always be one step ahead. The police were baffled, the public was terrified, and the media was in a frenzy. The sadistic violence, the satanic symbols left at crime scenes, the seemingly random choice of victims, it all added to the dread. But then, something strange began to happen. As the city trembled in fear, whispers began to circulate about the man behind the mask. His youthful appearance, his brooding demeanor, his dark, penetrating eyes. The monster was becoming a fascination. The terror was morphing into a perverse intrigue. The reign of terror was giving birth to a paradox. But amidst the terror and fear, a paradox was emerging. The monster was becoming a fascination. They say the devil has a silver tongue, but could he also have a charming face? Ponder this as we delve into the paradoxical appeal of Richard Ramirez, the infamous Night Stalker. Ramirez was not your typical criminal. His trial was a spectacle that drew in massive crowds, akin to a rock concert. More astonishingly, a significant portion of these spectators were women, seemingly mesmerized by the same man who had unleashed a reign of terror upon the city of Los Angeles. It was a bizarre spectacle, to say the least. This phenomenon is not isolated to Ramirez. It's a psychological condition known as hybristophilia, or Bonnie and Clyde syndrome, where an individual feels a strong sexual attraction to people who have committed cruel and violent acts. It's a dark corner of human psychology, one that even experts struggle to fully comprehend. In Ramirez's case, his dark charm and boyish good looks played a significant role in his unexpected appeal. His long hair, piercing eyes, and slender build were a sharp contrast to the monster that lurked within. He was like a dangerous, forbidden fruit that many found irresistible, despite knowing the horrors he was capable of. His trial was filled with surreal moments. Women would attend court dressed in their finest, whispering sweet nothings as he walked by. Some even sent him love letters, professing their undying affection for a man who had shown no regard for human life. This paradoxical appeal is a chilling reminder of how easily the lines between good and evil can blur. It's a testament to the complex and sometimes terrifying intricacies of human psychology. Ramirez's allure was not in spite of his monstrous actions, but for some, because of them. The Night Stalker had not only instilled fear, but he had also, inexplicably, ignited desire. The paradox of Richard Ramirez is a chilling testament to the power of charisma and the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of human attraction. Every reign of terror has an end, and the Night Stalker was no exception. The capture of Richard Ramirez, famously known as the Night Stalker, was not the work of one detective or a single effort. It was the culmination of countless sleepless nights by the police force and an alert community ready to take action. The tipping point arrived in late August of 1985. A teenager spotted a photo of Ramirez, released by the police, in a newspaper, and recognized him as the strange man she had seen in her neighborhood. The community sprung into action, with residents tracking Ramirez's movements, ultimately cornering him and holding him until the police arrived. It was a remarkable demonstration of community vigilance and bravery. The subsequent trial was nothing short of a spectacle. Ramirez, with his long hair and sunglasses, maintained a defiant attitude, even going as far as to flash a pentagram hand sign and boldly declare, "Hail Satan." His theatrics, coupled with gruesome details of his crimes, drew widespread media attention. Despite his efforts to disrupt the proceedings, the evidence was overwhelming. In 1989, Ramirez was convicted of 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. The judge, upon sentencing him to death, declared his deeds as cruelty, callousness, and viciousness beyond any human understanding. However, the death sentence never came into fruition. In June of 2013, after nearly a quarter century on death row, Ramirez died of natural causes. His reign of terror had ended not by the hand of justice, but by the hands of time. The Night Stalker was no more, but his paradoxical legacy continues. His story has become an eerie part of American folklore, a dark tale that serves as a reminder of the duality of human nature. A man who instilled fear and committed heinous acts, yet held a certain appeal that continues to both bewilder and intrigue. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, a name that evokes fear and, paradoxically, attraction. In the twisted tale of Richard Ramirez, we've journeyed through the enigma and reign of terror of the Night Stalker, his paradoxical appeal, and his inevitable downfall. As we reflect on this macabre saga, we're confronted with a chilling paradox that raises uncomfortable questions about our society. The allure of Richard Ramirez, a man known for his monstrous deeds, is an unsettling reality. This paradox, as bizarre as it may seem, is not confined to Ramirez alone. It's a phenomenon that has been observed with numerous criminals throughout history. This paradoxical appeal stems largely from their charisma, their notoriety, and our own innate fascination with the macabre. This attraction towards figures of darkness is a reflection of our collective fascination with crime, a fascination that is fueled by our desire to understand the motives behind such heinous acts. It's a reflection of our paradoxical relationship with fear, where we're simultaneously repulsed and drawn to it. It's a reflection of our society's obsession with infamy, where notoriety often eclipses morality. This paradox also sheds light on our perception of criminals. Criminals, particularly those as notorious as Ramirez, are often dehumanized and vilified to the extent that they become mythical figures of evil. This dehumanization, while understandable, often obscures the fact that these criminals are products of the same society that condemns them. So, what does this paradox tell us about ourselves? It reveals our complex relationship with fear and infamy. It reveals our struggle to reconcile the human and the inhuman aspects of these criminals. But most importantly, it reveals our collective need to make sense of the senseless, to find meaning in the meaningless. In the end, Richard Ramirez's story is a chilling reminder of the complexities of human nature and the enigmatic allure of darkness.